O'Neill Real Estate in Kelmscott could be called the quiet achievers of WA real estate. They've been consistently producing some of the state's best reps for over 50 years, with generation after generation joining the company. I invited brothers Mark Grogan and Travis Grogan, as well as Con Mathews, into the crunch room to ask them what exactly they're putting in the water over at O'Neill. Gentlemen, welcome to the crunch.
Thank you.
Nice We're going to get stuck straight into it. Now, we just were having a chat before about all of your histories in real estate, but I want you to re-say everything all over again, starting with Con, first person off the rank. Tell me your background in real estate when you started.
So I started in real estate in 2002. Was employed actually by these blokes' father back then. So 2002, the market was a pretty exciting time at that stage. You know, I bought my first house in 2001 and property prices were going spastic. So it was really a case of getting in. It was so exciting. Properties were sort of doubling and tripling in price over that period before the GFC hit around 2007. But really, really cool time to be in real estate. I'd previously studied horticulture at TAFE and done that for a couple of years. And then the lure of houses and the investment opportunities and the rest came up, and the rest is history. 2007,
did you think, time to go? Or did you just push
No,
through?
I think I'd been already selling 5 years by that stage, so there was already some repeat clients, and hey, there was enough time to build up, enough opportunity.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, even in a market where there's downturn, there's still people need to buy and sell a house. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So upsizes, downsizes. The market, obviously, it peaked at that time, but older couples still needed to downsize to a unit. Young couples, and they still needed a family home. So there was still enough turning over at that stage.
Beautiful. Trav, you're next. Tell me how you got your start.
So I just finished high school. So it was 2007. I finished year 12 and I was going to go and study engineering. And Mark was already working at O'Neill's at the time, and he'd been there for about a year or so. And I heard there was a job as a PA going for Mike Dunsmore, who was doing a bit of commercial stuff. I thought I'd give it a go for a year or so. And that's coming up 13 years ago.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Mark?
Trav's scholarship's expired, actually. So.
Yeah, that's right. I'm probably going to have to stick with real estate.
Yeah, you have to go back to TAFE. So I started in 2006. I had always wanted to do it. Obviously, watching Dad selling real estate growing up, there wasn't a time where I didn't want to be a real estate agent. But I had an opportunity come up through a family friend to work wholesale, selling mattresses to bedding shops. And so I used to go around from shop to shop, selling mattresses to furniture shops, and had a blast doing that. It was a lot of fun, made some really good friends and good contacts, and did that for 3.5 years. It was good for about 3 years. And then towards the end, it was starting to get a little bit... I just wanted to be in real estate. I'd wanted to do it for so long. So I'd finished my job up there. I'd done my real estate certificate part-time at TAFE, just keeping things rolling, and then went in 2006.
There you go. So a little bit of background. The way I guess we got you guys on here, obviously Good Clients of Crib, but I was chatting to Trav about the history of the three of you, Con working with your dad in real estate, you guys having your dad and then coming in. Yeah. Tell me, I guess, how did that all come together at O'Neill? I want to know about the culture of O'Neill, and you guys have a very, it's pretty unique that all of you started your real estate careers pretty young. You're still in it 13 years later. Most people, this is like a second or third career. You're still there. You're still with the same company. Your dad was in real estate. You, Con, worked with the Grogan's dad. Tell me about that. Like, tell me why you're still here.
I think it's fun first and foremost, isn't it?
It is.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll look forward to going to work on a Monday. That's the reality of it. It's not like work's great. The end result is good dough, when you get to sell somebody's house. But the reality is the blokes are fun to be around. The boss is fun. Like the property managers are fun. And there's just really good energy and excitement.
It's a very relaxed place. Like there is no real formalities in there ever. It's very easy to... there's good-natured ribbing and all that sort of thing that goes on between pretty much everybody. And every day is a pleasure to be there. So I think that's... And it comes from the top in as much as they're not really watching over your shoulder day by day about what your time is like and all those sorts of things. They trust us that we're going to do the best we can with the time we've got, and therefore there comes some autonomy and freedom to have a bit of a laugh throughout the day. And I think that's really what keeps us there.
Rowan's in charge there now. Has that always been the case while you guys have been there, or has it changed hands since?
When I first started, Mike Dunsmore was the principal, so
Yeah.
in the early for probably a year or so, and then Rowan bought the business in 2004.
And Mike's still selling
Mike's still
there.
selling there.
Yeah.
He's primarily commercial industrial now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rowan actually employed me and forgot it was my first day when I rocked up. So, so my very first day I rocked up and I had my time, which had taken me about half an hour to get right. And the first thing Rowan said to me is, I thought you're starting today. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what
So
you
I
want to
still
hear.
haven't had an induction, actually.
That's right. Yeah, I still don't know if I'm supposed to fill up that water cooler or not.
Everyone's been thirsty ever since. So I've completely lost my question there on the water cooler. The recruitment, I guess, of you guys and the training of you guys. Again, there's three of you in the room that we could all probably have your own podcast. You're all really successful agents in your own right, and again, have been with O'Neill for a really long time. Tell me about the process of like your training, which I know for all of you was a long time ago. But what makes you so successful? What is it about the culture and what's going on there, aside from the good-natured ribbing and it's fun to go to work, that's producing really good reps in and that are really dominant in your market? Ooh.
That's a really good question.
It is. I think we might have to take a bit of time and just call Rowan on that. What it is that he's done.
To attract
Because I
us.
can't pick it personally. I mean, if I look at what he's doing, I don't know. Is it anything?
Because even your
I think he's a very
property,
blessed man. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
even your PM team, really high performing. They're still there for a long time, which is really rare in property management.
Yeah.
Shall I be inviting Rowan into the room instead of you?
I think it's about balance too. Like we're not. Well, I speak for myself. Real estate is what I do, but it's not who I am either. You see some agents out there and their complete identity is wrapped up as a real estate agent. Hello. I think getting that balance right, so it's not all about work. It's about the kids and the wife, and we all go to church together as well as work together. So that balance is so important, and then you just don't tire out. You don't come and go as readily as some other agents do. For me, that's kind of why it works. Yeah.
And yeah, they're very much on board with the reason that you're there is not to just build this career. They're not really actually career-focused people. Rowan and Berwin. Berwin is Rowan's brother, the other owner of the business. Rowan's the principal. Berwin has other roles within the company. And the way that they treat people is very much the way that they would like to be treated themselves. And they're very human. They're very, very family-focused people. They are open to people taking time off to be with their families, and that's really what the priority is. And real estate is just the way that we make our money. So yeah, they don't live and breathe real estate and real estate industry talk. Be honest, we don't go to the Rewa ball. We don't get off on being real estate agents the way that some people do. And I have plenty of respect for people.
Not obviously, at least. We certainly check the stats regularly, but
it's a daily thing. The only reason we don't go is because we're not number one.
that's right. Clearly.
We'd be there.
It's still part of that plan now.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps it very sustainable as well, is that there's not that constant pressure from the top to do it. And whilst it's still a very competitive environment, it's not, we care, but it's not too much.
Yeah.
I think that makes all the difference, and that we actually, well, I speak for myself. I'm quite happy to see these guys succeed. I don't want to succeed at the cost of them, and I think we all care about each other, and yeah. You're crying, Con.
Oh, mate.
There's got to be a bit of competition between you guys, though. Is there a bit of, are you watching the numbers?
Yeah.
I used to, but he blitzes it now. There's no point in competing. That's the
being
real.
Mark.
He being Mark. That's the reality of it. I think there was a lot of competition. Like way back, I was number one there for a couple of years, and then Mark stepped up a long time ago, and he's been our number one gun ever since. So there comes a point where you say, "Hey, what's the point of competing?" He's leap years ahead.
Even in 2016.
That's an area of contention, I guess, isn't it, between the three of us?
Not particularly, but okay, go on.
Yeah.
It depends.
For another day.
It depends on how you look at statistics and whether or not you count high numbers as being important.
Rewa had, I think, number 4 on that list for me personally. I can't remember who was number 1, 2, and 3, but no, I don't think they're in this room.
So no, we're not competitive at all.
No,
not at all.
Especially if you're not winning. We actually are. I think to a degree, everyone's competitive. You can't succeed in this industry if you don't have a competitive streak somewhere within you. But I think over the years, it's actually tamed. We were all in our early 20s when we started doing this. And so we were competing against each other. I don't know if you put it down to ego or whether you put it down to, just late puberty, really.
Oh, pretty much, eh?
We're all very competitive, right? So we had this relationship that was quite edgy for a long time. But I think once we all had kids and realised that there's a lot more to life than just this job.
Yeah.
And friendships are so important too. I mean, Con and I have known each other since, it'll be 20 years now that we've known each other. And that's way more important than a listing or, doing an appraisal that somebody else has done before or working with a buyer that it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I think we've all kind of moved on from some of that stuff. And we have wives that are all really, really decent people too. So if you go home and you've got a gripe, I know mine tells me to pull my head in.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing too.
Yeah. Beautiful. Tell me what you guys learn from each other. I know each of you, obviously, Mark, you're really pushing with video at the moment. Trav is pretty strong on Instagram where you guys aren't really using that a whole heap. Yeah. Are there things that you're learning from each other, watching each other doing constantly? What's that kind of process like in terms of your marketing or your processes or anything like that?
Yeah, and it's changed a lot as well in the last 18 years. When I first started, we were taking photos of properties, going down to the chemist, developing those photos, coming back, sticking them on a window card, and that was what we did way back then. My first colleague had a pager, and it would beep away. That's 18 years ago. So it changes a lot, and I'm kind of old school in a lot of ways, and I take a while to catch on to stuff, as you probably figured out with social and everything else. So I guess it's just a case of being ready to change and wanting to change. And that's kind of hard for me, but watching Mark do it and Trav do it in terms of their social and just the energy and the enthusiasm, that's encouraging. You get pulled along with that, and that's the reality of it. So that's the beauty of an agency like this, regardless of whether you want to or not, you kind of get pulled along with it, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
Even just overhearing the way people speak on the phone and just the little isms, and we have a very open kind of office, and so you often hear people on the phone. Con's got good volume. Mark's even worse, but I sit closer to Mark. But you hear the way that people talk and the way that situations are handled, and so there's a lot of it that I suppose I couldn't specifically say I picked that up from Mark or I picked that up from Con, but there's a lot of things that sound pretty similar when I hear myself speaking. I'm like, that
especially
probably
if your
didn't come
mates
from me.
as well. It's like when
Absolutely.
you listen to friends talk, they all talk the same, or you like sponge it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think over the years, I think Trav hit the nail on the head. You just pick it up because you're around each other.
Yeah.
And taking phone calls and dealing with situations that arise, and you don't necessarily know where it's coming from when you're dealing with it. But a lot of that is just through observation. I think any rep who lands in an office where people are guarded and defensive and protective, I think is basically going to fail in that environment. And I don't know of anyone who could succeed in that, because you do a 2-week course or whatever it is these days. I think it's a week actually in class at TAFE or at REWA. And that's it.
Yeah.
They don't teach you how to make those phone calls. They don't teach you how to break the news to someone that there's a finance fallover. You don't learn any of those things except through experience on the job. And that's really where you're probably learning off each other without realising it.
Yeah.
Generally, we share the victories as well. Like if you get off the phone and something great's happened, you probably want to brag about it a bit. So the other person's been listening. Oh, that worked. We'll use that.
Is it an office where you guys are pretty much in 9 to 5, or like obviously when you're at appointments, or you just coming and going, Con saying no?
Probably in for 10 to 15, eh?
Yeah, that's right. We measure by minutes, not hours, typically, Jess.
It's the first time I've seen these guys for about 2 weeks.
That's because you've been building a house, though, isn't it? No, we're very, very flexible in terms of that. There's really the only accountability is what's up on the sales board every month. Other than that, we've been doing it for long enough to do our own thing.
To do what you do.
But hey, we'd see these guys pretty much every day for a portion of the day. So. The flexibility is awesome, and that just makes it natural and creative, and everything else that goes along with that too.
Yeah, we float a fair bit of stuff past each other in terms of ideas. Like if you're trying to come up with an appraisal price, some stuff's really weird. We work in an area that doesn't necessarily have a lot of evidence for certain types of properties.
Yes.
And so you're running ideas past each other, going, what do you reckon this is worth? And you'll give each other a phone call and see where things are at. Con started a WhatsApp group, which is mainly photos of everybody's gardens. That's a horticultural background.
That's my passion.
That's his tech. He's embraced the tech.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And,
Watch out.
It's been amazing to see the photos of everyone's lavender and whatnot. But it's been good. And that's the sort of thing where, there's a lot of interaction relating to work as well as just general, knowing each other and being mates.
Yeah. Is there anything that anyone, it's been a long history, a long career, anything any of you guys have started that the other two have thought that is absolutely never going to work, and then you've had to eat your words?
Mark did isogenics for a bit. That surprised us.
He's been rehearsing.
I know.
Seriously, he's practiced 100 times in the car, mate.
Did it work? Yeah, everyone's happy with that. It's good. Yeah.
Now you've thrown him, eh?
I had to shake and drink my words.
No?
I guess the being a bit of a relic at times with the whole social media thing when these guys started doing that. Let's see how long that lasts, this Facebook fad, and it's kind of still here.
10 years later.
Yeah. So
Con's recently got email as well.
That's been revolutionary, I've got to admit. Hey,
Giving away your pigeon.
Yeah. It's at home. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I would say I've had to eat my words on Con's diary. Con is one of the few people that orders the Rewa diary each year.
Yeah.
In fact, when the order goes in, they are very surprised to see it come in, and they go, "Well, what are we going to do now? We actually just put this up here. We didn't even print any of these."
That's why they're $300 a diary now.
Yeah, exactly. They have to go down to Debden, get one made up, and make it look like this is a normal thing. So Con still runs a paper diary, and every year I've said to him, "Mate, come on, get on board with the electronic diary." But if I'm being honest, I've probably missed more appointments than Con has over the years, because if it's in pen, it doesn't, have software glitches or anything like that. There's never been a big biro software glitch where it suddenly just disappears, and then you miss your appointment. So, have to eat my words. I reckon his paper diary system is effective, and there are times where I wish I'd written it down, but
there's always next year, mate.
There's always
I'll
next
put the
year
order in
to make the move back to the Devon full page.
Are they going to reduce the cost if you both put an order in?
Well, let's hope so. Hey, yeah.
Yeah. What's a new habit that you guys have implemented in the last couple of years that's changed your life?
I'd love to hear Con's.
Well, I've started exercising. I hit, what am I now, 36? I hit 34, 33, 34, and I just got a bit fat. That's the reality of it. I'd hit 100 kilos, and I thought, nah, enough was enough. And, it's funny, you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, that's okay. But then, I don't know, somehow I started looking at myself in photos or business cards and all that. Nah, something's got to give here. So I joined F45 in January 2018. And and so for the last 2 and a bit years, I've been working out every morning, and that's great. It's become a habit now. Love the discipline and the friendship. There's a lot of guys that we've sort of made friendship, and obviously business as well has come from that over the last couple of years. But just feeling so much better and have so much more energy now, which has been awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I would say exactly the same thing. I joined shortly after Con did, and with that came early morning starts, and that has changed so much because that energy in the morning, kids are still in bed often by the time I get back, and it's just a time to get through emails where the phone's not ringing. Generally speaking, the emails aren't coming in other than just the standard ones that are there every morning, and just that. Going into the day with probably 50% less in my inbox to do makes a big difference, and that changes the way you approach the day. The appointments that you sort of think, I've got so much to do, that my inbox is full of stuff, and you've also the blood's pumping, you've been to the gym and some exercise as well. So that's probably the biggest thing for me as well.
Beautiful. Mark, are you
getting up at 4:30 has probably been the big change for me and for my wife, and that's been a huge help, just in terms of, as Trav said, starting the day with a lot less on the to-do list, or a to-do list that's been freshened up for the start of the day.
Are you doing the F45 as well, or are you just getting up and getting on
it's a good idea. I like the idea, love the concept. Joined for a short time, just, it's...
Just couldn't do the star jumps, is that it?
Yeah, it was the star jumps and the coordination. Basically. so
it's the YMCA over and over again.
Yeah. No, I do need to correct that. It's probably been a busy time of life with really little kids and all that sort of stuff, and I tend to help my wife out a lot more than some other guys.
That sounds like an excuse.
Get on board with some of the actual home stuff, but no, it is 100% it's an excuse. But getting up at 4:30
cleaner and the lawnmower man and all those things.
I also get up at 4:30, but it's just for 2 minutes while I go to the toilet and straight back into bed.
What are you doing at 4:30? Just doing emails
I
and
start the
clearing
day.
the day?
Yeah, as Con mentioned before, we all go to the same church. So I start my day. I read the Bible for a while. I pray, and then I hit my emails.
Yeah,
and
okay.
praying before that is often probably a pretty good place to start.
Mm.
That's the way that we start our morning.
Beautiful. There you go. Best piece of advice from someone you've received from someone in the industry?
I don't know if it's the industry, but and I'm not too sure where this comes from. It could have been from my younger brother, who can be quite philosophical at times. It may also have been from Ross Lyon at one of his press conferences. But it's things are never as bad or as good as they seem.
Probably
So-
Ross Lyon.
It could have been Ross Lyon, but he no doubt took it off somebody else.
We got off Tim. I reckon he'd got it off.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, could well have done. But when you're when you got that finance fall over, and that 10 seconds after that, you're like, what the frig is going on here? Your whole world crumbles, and then you resell it the week after and it's all okay.
Yeah.
Or you settle on a big deal and it's incredible, and then 2 months later you spent all the money. So
Yeah.
it's, I guess you got to look at the long game. It's the big picture, like right there and then. Making judgment calls on things that happen right at that time. Can be a bit an immature way of looking at it. So
Yeah.
that's probably the best piece of advice I've got. And the worst piece of advice I've got from someone I used to work with a long time ago was do unto others and get the hell out of town. So that was one I got from one of my colleagues when I first started selling, and I always thought that was quite humorous. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, worst piece of advice that I've probably had is that standard line when you talk to some people. All right, mate. Yeah, don't work too hard. That's bad advice in real estate. It's such bad advice in real estate.
I've
I
never
think-
heard a real estate agent say don't work
No,
too
not
hard.
not necessarily other agents, but you do like the conjunctional agent.
Yeah,
You want to
okay.
keep the young bloke down where he should be. That was a big thing. I think when we entered the industry, some of these older blokes were a bit like, "Hang on a second, mate. You don't go too fast there, Tiger." So you probably get a bit more of that kind of response from people then. But don't work too hard is probably the worst advice you can get in real estate, especially if you're new. Taking appointments at uncomfortable times and expecting that you're going to make the money is probably really bad advice. And I don't think there is 4-hour work weeks and that sort of stuff for what we do.
No.
I think a lot of people like the idea of all of that, but it's just a good book. Just put it down as a good book.
Yeah.
There's no way you can get to that sort of volume and those sorts of numbers without being, on a lot of the time. And so that's probably the worst advice you'd give someone is don't work too hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Trav?
Just try to keep them in their place.
Yeah.
You asked for the best
did.
advice, but
Best.
we're all here giving the
That's all right.
the worst
Either
advice. I
way.
think that's easier. Probably the worst advice because there's another Grogan brother who was in real estate for a little while.
And he makes a very, very interesting interview as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened with him in real estate? He's not in there. He's not selling anymore.
Yeah, he lasted for what?
2 years?
2 years or something like that. Yeah, so he's not the most self-motivated guy.
Don't work
Not
too
ideal
hard.
for real
He is
estate.
now.
He took
is
that
now.
advice. Don't work too hard.
No, but he's pretty self-motivated.
He
now.
is now.
Yeah.
So that's he'll probably listen to this. So he's a good guy.
Never likes my videos on Facebook, but I'm sure he'll listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
With no comments.
No, Brennan's advice was when we all first started, there were certain KPIs just to keep. There were a lot of young guys in the office, and there were certain KPIs that had to be met. Some of that was letterbox dropping because that was a big thing back in the day. I don't think anyone really ever pushed the MySpace social thing because that was what was going at the time. But
I was heavily
Was that
involved.
thing
Hang on a
for
second.
agents? MySpace?
I don't think so.
No, sure.
No.
More wannabe musicians.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was afterwards, yeah. So Bren's idea of getting through his letterbox drops nice and quickly was to target strata complexes
Right,
because all the letterboxes are together.
right.
And that meant that he could get off to lunch nice and early. So that's probably pretty bad advice that Bren was
Possibly
giving
not
out there.
ideal.
At one stage, all he had for sale, his only listings were 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units.
And
Along
not a
Albany
lot of those,
Highway
yeah,
in Kelmscott,
in Kelmscott.
Armadale. It was the beginning of the end.
There you go. All right. Are there any agents, you guys said you don't go to the rewards and you're not very competitive, which I only semi believe. Are there any agents around that you are kind of think are doing good things, keeping an eye on, or you keep it pretty much in the office?
Does Bowie need to be told that he's good? Shane Beaumont?
Shane Beaumont, never heard of it.
Who's he?
Yeah, no, he does a lot of those Instagram things like Trav.
What's that? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the guy with actual followers as well. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
right.
the-
Yeah.
That's the key. Oh, that's
Probably why it's working
that's
for
the
him.
key.
I don't a great deal, to be honest with you. Again, it's kind of, I don't. Mark, obviously, is a pretty good example. Trav, a good example to follow as well. So these guys are doing really good things in our area. I follow and observe them to a certain degree. And that's pretty much it for me.
Oh, I pump a bit of dialogue in the real estate gym. So I'll get in there with Tom Panos and pay attention to what people are doing there. I find that a really helpful thing, and also listening to your podcast. I mean, you just hear what other people are doing, and I don't even know necessarily that you have to walk away from everything going, okay, I'm going to implement this, but just keeping your focus and just hearing what other people are doing, how they operate, is really, really beneficial. And I think it's the same for anyone. I mean, I'm sure if I knew anything about sport, I'm going to expose myself here as somebody who doesn't. I'm sure that the best sports people pay attention to how their competitors are playing.
Yeah.
Even if they're, just up and coming guys that are the future. You've got to keep an eye on what other people are doing, because that's how you stay fresh and stay current. So real estate gym, fantastic thing.
There you go. Trav?
Yeah, I think a lot of, with social media being so big now, I feel like we have an insight into a lot of other agents around the place.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a very guarded and probably just showing the best light. Generally speaking, there's a few out there who are particularly honest. I follow a lot of the big names like Matt Steinway and guys like that, and I find it very interesting watching their lives. But I also think that that just being around guys that are in our market, because every market's different. We've got a very diverse market. We've got the one bedroom stuff that Brennan used to sell right through to $1 million stuff up in the hills, all within 5-10 minutes of each other. So I think you can actually learn a lot just from within our office because of that range. So, but there's certainly a lot of guys that are out there on social that I'm following, and it's just interesting. And you can listening to the podcast as well. You immerse your thoughts in real estate. It's nice to know you're not alone. You're not the only one going through some of the stuff, because you can get very isolated and get pretty down on it when things aren't going great.
Beautiful. You guys have perfected your, we've said it before and we'll say it again, been in the game a long time. What's your kind of ideal day look like? Ideal real estate day? You're banging those calls out.
So my ideal day would probably be wake up in the morning, have a cup of tea with the wife. That's always nice. Say good day to the kids, get them set, and then I'm probably 8:30 at the office, do about half an hour's worth of work, and then to the gym at 9:30. So I work out between 9:30 and 10:15 every morning, and then book appointments from about 11 o'clock. I have booked appointments from 10:30 before and rocked up absolutely bucketing with swear, seller saying, what is going on here? So I've made sure I've got a 45-minute window after the 45 minutes of exercise to get set. And then it's pretty organic, and it kind of changes every day. I'm not one of these reps that has phone calls between this time and that time, vendor follow-up, photo. No, pretty much as it goes. And I probably work late a couple of nights a week. So for the other three, I'm typically home by sort of 5:30, and that works out well. I've got 3 young kids. We also homeschool.
Yeah.
So it's pretty important that I'm kind of home a reasonable amount of time as well to help the wife out, because she's full on.
Pulling her out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of my typical day, and then I'll work a Saturday for 5 or 6 hours as well.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, ideal day for me would be kicking off with 4:30 till 7. Probably just taking through, writing ads and doing all those sorts of things at the top of the day. Probably, getting to the office around about 10 is ideal for me if I've done an appointment on the way or whatever might be the case. And really, appraisals are probably best for me around about 3 o'clock onwards. If I'm going to be, working with sellers, I want to be there at that time of day. That tends to be when my energy is probably at its peak. But if I was there at 2 o'clock, that's probably when it's at its lowest. I sort of need to take some time around about 2 o'clock in the day just to, be my worst.
So I've booked you in at the perfect time today.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you get any low star ratings on this podcast, it's basically due to the 2 o'clock.
I was unaware of Mark's energy slump. So
I slump about 2, but from about 3 o'clock onwards, I sort of rev up a bit. A couple of deals on the board, a couple of listings up on the listing board. That's really the ideal day for me.
Beautiful. Trav?
I'm definitely learning the value of an ideal day.
Yeah.
I find it hard, as Con said before, I'm in the middle of building a house, and I'm pretty hands-on with that, and that makes it very difficult when you're spending the morning doing some of that stuff and then getting out there and selling real estate afterwards, and quick shower in between sort of thing. But I do know that whenever I'm feeling under the pump, getting back into that routine of up early, off to the gym, getting through phone calls and emails early. My kids go to school, so that helps. So I usually work from home for that stuff, and an hour of very intense working through a list of follow up can be the most effective thing. I can do more in that hour if I'm actually focused on it than I can do in a whole day of mucking around trying to take calls while I'm on the road and that sort of thing. So that's it. And yeah, absolutely, appointments in the afternoon work out best for me. It doesn't always work out that way. People don't 100% work around my schedule when they want to look at houses, when they want to sell it. I know it would be a lot easier if they would, but yeah, that's energy, and also just knowing that you're at that time of day, if I've followed that trend, I don't have too much on my to-do list, and so I just mentally feel more open to taking more stuff on and having a proper conversation with people. So yeah, absolutely. If people are feeling overwhelmed in the industry, that would be the one piece of advice would be to try and work within some sort of structure.
Lock that routine down.
For sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. What have you guys learnt to say no to over the years?
Look, for me, I've probably learnt to say no to the kids a lot more. When they want my attention,
Exercise.
and if my wife wants me home at a certain time, just say no. They're blood. They are yours. They are your family. Nothing's going to change it.
They'll forgive you.
They'll forgive me. And look, hey, by the time they're 18 to 20, they'll have forgotten a lot of that.
They'll be paying for their own therapy by then.
Yeah. No, so if you say no to them, and also, sometimes you've just got to stretch it a bit. So you'll say, look, I'll be home at 7, and then you just call, say, look, it's going to be 9. And look, it's only 2 hours on a 10-hour day. It's not a big deal. So I found the family's really forgiving. So if you cut it off the family and don't affect the client, everything's fine.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's not actually good advice at all. Don't do that. Put that on the list of worst advice you've received from somebody in the industry.
I reckon I'm pretty much polar opposite. So what do I say no to? Overpriced listings, unmotivated sellers, too many long nights. Just trying to get that balance right. Hey, that's just the key. Like if you're doing too much work, then something's always got to give, right? That's the reality of it. There's only so much you've got to give, and if it's too much over here, that means not enough's been given there. So I just try and get that balance right. That's the key for me.
Yeah.
Going around Australia for 6 months in June, so caravanning with the family.
Wow.
So that's going to be awesome. Still taking on plenty of listings for anyone that's out there. Don't worry about that. We're going to load up now. But yeah, just really trying to get that balance right. Like my kids are at that age where they're pretty impressionable. I want to be around as much as I can.
Yeah.
And Mark's an awesome dad too. He works long hours, but hey, he does spend good time with the kids.
Beautiful.
In his defence, mate.
Thank you. Thank you. And our kids are all good friends, and obviously Trav's kids and my kids are cousins. So, they've got someone they can depend on. Well balanced.
I'm the godfather. Yeah.
We share the load. That's,
None of you guys have a team, do you? Like, is there ideas to implement PAs or a team to build the business?
I have an assistant.
Oh, you do have an assistant?
I do. So I have Kelvin who works with me.
explains the numbers a little bit as well, because you've got to divide it by 2.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark, go on.
You don't have to divide it by 2.
This was always going to happen if you got us in the same room. This is why my parents didn't have us in the same room when we were growing up. I had to share with Bren, strata boy, and Mark in his own room. So you put us together, and this does happen. So
Trav lived in a strata title bedroom.
What was the question?
There's going to be a lot of editing here.
I can't remember. What have you learned to say no to?
No, it's to do with teams. So I work with an
teams.
assistant. Actually, that's probably the best advice that I could ever give anybody is you get to a certain point where running around and doing small jobs that you can get somebody else to do for a price, it's often worth that. So I have been able to spend more time firstly listing and selling, but also I have been able to spend more time with my family since having Kelvin there. So there are times where you might have, keys that need getting cut, or somebody wants to measure something because they're buying a new bedroom suite and they want to see what size this bedroom is, and they want to meet you there at 6 o'clock. I don't have to take that time from my family now because I have employed somebody to do that. So that's made a huge difference to my existence. And yeah, that's the way that I've been able to implement a team.
Beautiful. Last question for the three of you. Over 10 years in the industry, obviously we've talked about the highs and lows, and there's obviously been moments when you've possibly lost motivation or focus. what do you do what do you do to regain that?
You know, when you first started school, like the new school year, and you had the new pencil case?
Yeah, and it smells so good.
That's it. It's so good and everything's clean, and like the first word you write in that new pad is always so neat and so tidy, and you're not going to draw on your eraser this year. That's that. I always think of that, and so for me, when I'm like that, I clean my car, I clean my desk, I get my inbox empty, and it's just that fresh start thing. I really think that is just, all those things are probably a great reflection of where my headspace and my time management is at. So getting on top of those things is 100% a reset for me.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
it's a beautiful way of putting it. There is no better reset than actually standing up, cleaning up your workspace, getting everything organised, and that's hit it on the head. Yeah,
Beautiful.
The pencil case.
I think holidays are a great reset for me. Hey, like I'll go away for
really?
it. Yeah. It's a new concept. I know.
Yeah.
I think you go away for a week or two and you come back. I find I come back recharged and refocused and just do stuff that you don't ordinarily do. You know, it's kind of like you're taking the blinkers off. You call those people you maybe wouldn't have called. You just refocus and hungry again. And maybe because you haven't worked for 2 weeks and haven't made any sales in the bank, the next payment's due on Wednesday. You know, maybe that's got something to do with it. But the reality is, holidays are a really good refresher for me. I love them. Yeah.
I think the other thing that can refocus you is going and having just a quick look at the sales board, just seeing how many you've got up there versus everyone else. Just go, okay, where am I at? Better get something sorted out there. Yep. All right. Make some phone calls.
On that note, guys, thank you very much for your time.
It's been good.
Switching into
Thank
this
you.
little aquarium with me. And here's to a good year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And actually, while we're here, I just want to say that it has been a lot of fun working with Crib so far. It's only been, 6 to 12 months, something like that. I don't know what it's been now, but fantastic team. If anyone's listening to this podcast and is not getting a great experience and working with creative people, they really need to revisit it, because working with you guys on the videos has been so helpful, because you don't just stare at me when it's finished and go, okay, yep, all right, would you want to do the outro now? You give feedback, you're putting ideas forward, and it just makes such a world of difference to be engaged at that level. So great partnership.
100%.
Thanks, mate. We love working with you guys. So there you go.
Slipping the 50 now.
Thank you. That's it for this episode. We'd love any feedback or guest suggestions, so please hit me up on Instagram on Jess@Crib to let us know what you think. Did you know about our new podcast, Off Market? Off Market is the latest project from Crib Creative. Every fortnight, you can join me, Shane Beaumont, Ross Hunter, and a special guest as we break down Perth's property market. Find Off Market Perth wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy our shows, this one or Off Market, please don't forget to subscribe and be sure to tell a friend.